Why, hello there. So it's about, 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and I really want some yummy, yummy potato breakfast. And so I'm going to show you my way of making hash browns. It's not the traditional way. When we make hash browns in the United States, we're usually just using potatoes and seasonings and butter, and then frying those up in a pan. I actually like to do it with a little protein added. So the only ingredients that you need to make my hash browns are this is about one medium potato. I did not take the skins off. I love potato skins, but you can peel the potato if you'd like. And then I have used a cheese grater in order to grate the potato into these little pieces. I'm also going to use one large egg, and I'm going to use paprika. I'm going to use garlic powder. I'm going to use pepper, and I'm going to use salt. So in just a second, we'll get started with our hash browns. So first things first, I have preheated a small pan, a small frying pan on my stove at just a little bit under medium heat. And we need to first start by rinsing our freshly grated potato. And this is actually really important because potatoes have a lot of starch in them. And we actually want to rinse some of that starch off. And so I'm going to be using just some cold water. It doesn't need to be warm at all. In fact, warm water can cause our potatoes to be a little bit brown. There's my cold water. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mix this up, and you can see that the water is really cloudy. That's the starch coming off of the outside of the potato. And then I have a kitchen tool that many of you kiddos out there are probably familiar with. This is called a sieve, and we use this to drain foods that we wash and sometimes to get lumps out of sauces and things, because it's got teeny tiny holes that big things can't go through, but little things and water rinse right out. So I'm going to let my potatoes drain. And if you really want to make sure that the rinsing is really thorough, you could even run water over the potatoes, but usually it's not necessary like this. You could do that as well. I'm just making sure, see all the water that's still coming out of the bottom there? We want to get as much water off of the potatoes as possible. And then we're going to dry the potatoes with paper towels, because if they're wet, they won't mix up and they won't cook as well. So usually what I do is I set them right here and I get my paper towels ready. All right, paper towels are prepared. What I have here is I have 4 paper towels that I've laid across my counter, and then I have another 4. We're going to use them, don't you worry. I'm going to take my potatoes from over here to the left, and then I'm going to spread my potatoes out in a thin layer, because the less potatoes that are stacked on top of each other, the faster they will dry. And then I'm going to lay paper towel over paper towel, and I'm going to squeeze down. And that's going to get them super dry. Dry, dry, dry. Okay, that should be perfect. And then we can actually put them back. Shake, shake, shake. We can put them back into the bowl that we took them from, because we still have to mix the potato with the seasoning and the egg. So I don't want to waste potato, so I'm going to get that off of the paper towels. I'm going to grab my bowl, and actually, as you can see, I'm just drying it out a little bit because we just dried the potatoes. There's no sense in making them wet again. And then we can very carefully empty our potatoes back into our bowl. And now we're almost ready for the final step of hash browns. So I've moved all my things and I'm ready to finalize my hash browns. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack my egg. This is a plastic bowl, so, a little harder. There we go. This is a plastic bowl, so I can't crack my egg on the edge like I normally would. There we are. There's the egg. And I'm going to season my potatoes. I've never measured this recipe, which you guys hear me say a lot. So basically, I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the black pepper, and probably another 10 of the salt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'll do a little extra of the salt. I'm going to do a couple shakes of garlic powder. There we go. And then finally, I'm going to do some shakes of paprika. And that, for me, is going to be the perfectly seasoned hash brown. You can use a fork or a spoon to mix your potato and your egg and your seasoning up. Just make sure that you get egg and seasoning all over the potatoes evenly. Now, what makes my hash browns different than, I guess, your traditional American hash browns is the addition of that egg. And I like it because, for me, I've never been very good at getting the hash browns to stay all together, and the egg is a good way for me to cheat. And it adds protein, which is always good in your breakfast. So this looks like it's mixed really well. So we've mixed up our potatoes, and now all that I need to do is put some butter in my preheated pan. I'm going to use about a tablespoon of butter, maybe a little bit less, so 10 or 15 grams of butter. I'm just kind of slicing it off of my butter block. And we want to see a nice, not brown burnt, just a nice buttery melt, because these potatoes are going to need to cook for probably 10, 12 minutes in order for them to be completely done. So now that we've got our melted butter in our pan, we're going to put our potatoes into our pan, and we're going to press them, and you can just use the fork. We're going to press them into an even layer of potato. If it doesn't go all the way to the sides of your pan, that's okay, but you do want it to be fairly thin. You don't want to see gaps in your potato, but we do want it to cook all the way through, so we don't want it to be super thick and mountainous. All right, so that is looking really, really good. Now, what we need to do here is we need to cook it like this, but we need to cover it. So we have here a lid that's way too big, and that's okay. We are going to cover, and we're going to let this cook uninterrupted for probably close to 10 minutes. I would say 7 to 10 minutes. We might check in 7. So I'm going to set a timer, and I will see you in 7 to 10 minutes. So these have been cooking covered for 4 minutes, and the reason I'm back here earlier than 7 minutes is because I can smell the potato cooking smell, and usually that smell is actually what tells me that I can flip them over. So let's see. Now this is the part I'm always terrible at. Can I flip it as one potato mass? 1, 2, 3. Yes, I can. And ooh, look at how pretty that is. That's actually perfect. So we're going to cover it again, and now that we totally know that 7 minutes was too long, I might even just set a timer for 3 minutes and then come back and check. So I'll see you in 3 minutes. All right, the smell and the steam coming from outside of the lid have brought me back. Let's take a look at our potatoes. And what I do like to do is I like to flip them over once more just to see if I got it. It will not look the same on the second side, so this is actually fantastic. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick him up. We'll go flip him onto a plate. Kaboom! And now we have enough hash browns to feed a small family. I like to sometimes put chives or spring onions on top. I like to use sour cream sometimes. I like to use plain ketchup sometimes. But now you've got a fantastic hash brown and egg breakfast. Enjoy.